7 days in Morocco is enough to go deep in one part of the country. This itinerary goes north, Marrakesh, the High Atlas, and Fez, and it makes that choice deliberately because the alternative of trying to add the desert and the coast and everything else produces a week spent in transit rather than in place. And Morocco is a country that only opens for people who stop moving long enough to let it arrive. The North Imperial route connects 3 of the most distinct environments in North Africa within a distance that a 7-day itinerary can cover without rushing. The Berber mountain culture of the Atlas, the Arab-Islamic medieval civilization of Fez, and Marrakesh as the hinge between the two worlds, the city where the Sahara and the Mediterranean, the Berber highlands and the Arab plains, the ancient and the contemporary, all press against each other in the space of a single Medina. Done slowly, this is one of the most layered travel experiences available in the Mediterranean world. Done as a checklist, it produces photographs and nothing else. Here is how the week works. Marrakesh gets 3 days, and those 3 days should not be organized around a list of sites. They should be organized around the rhythm of the city itself, which runs differently from the rhythm most visitors impose on it, and much better than the imposed version. Day 1 is for the Jemaa, el-Fnaa, and the Medina, but approached correctly rather than frontally. The square in the afternoon is the square you've already seen in photographs, the snake charmers, the musicians, the rows of food stalls being assembled as the light fades, the chaos that is genuinely chaotic and genuinely orchestrated at the same time. All of this is real and worth being inside. But the square at 7 in the morning, when the fruit juice sellers are the only people operating and the pigeons outnumber the tourists, and the Atlas Mountains are occasionally visible at the far end of the boulevard before the haze builds. That is a different Jemaa el-Fnaa, and it's the one that explains why the square has been the center of Marrakesh for 1,000 years rather than why it's on every travel list. Walk the square early. Return in the evening for dinner at one of the food stalls. Point at what someone else ordered. Eat standing up if that's the format. Don't worry about what it is. The souks branch from the square in every direction, and the standard advice is to dive in and get lost, which is correct but incomplete. The souks in Marrakesh are organized by trade in the traditional Islamic city pattern. The spice sellers in one area, the leather workers in another, the metal workers hammering in a lane that rings, and understanding this organization before you enter makes the experience of being in them significantly richer. You're not in a market. You're in a medieval commercial city operating on a plan that was laid out before most European capitals existed. The Dyer's Quarter, where the fabrics are hung to dry in colors that read almost impossibly saturated against the ochre walls. This is worth finding specifically, not as a stop on a tour, but as a moment of genuine visual surprise in a place that offers several of them. The evening of day 1 is for the Majorelle Garden and the Yves Saint Laurent Museum, which together constitute the most unexpectedly affecting combination in Marrakesh, and which most visitors do as a quick afternoon stop rather than as the evening event they deserve. The garden was designed by the French painter Jacques Majorelle over 40 years and was saved from development by Saint Laurent and Pierre Berga in 1980. The YSL Museum in the adjacent building is one of the best designed fashion museums in the world, built specifically for this location, and the collection's relationship to Marrakesh. Saint Laurent drew from the city's colors and textiles throughout his career, makes the visit feel like it's about the place rather than just about the clothes. Day 2 is for the palaces and the hammam, in that order. The Bahia Palace in the morning, when the tour groups are still organizing themselves at the Jemaa el-Fnaa, is the best moment to be in a building that was constructed to impress and continues to do so when you can stand in its courtyards without competing for space. The palace was built by a vizier of the Sultan in the 1890s and represents the peak of Moroccan interior architecture. The carved plaster, the painted cedarwood ceilings, the geometric tile floors, the play of light in the inner courtyards, at a scale that the riads of the Medina, for all their beauty, can't match. 2 hours here, not 45 minutes. The Saadian tombs, a short walk away, are where the complexity of Moroccan history compresses into a small space. The tombs contain the remains of the Saadian dynasty rulers and are decorated in marble and carved plaster that has been protected from the light for 3 centuries, sealed by a later sultan who wanted the dynasty forgotten and discovered again only in 1917. The condition of the decoration, preserved by exactly the darkness meant to obliterate it, is one of the more quietly moving ironies available in Moroccan heritage sites. The afternoon is for the hammam. Not the tourist hammam, the neighborhood one. Every Marrakesh neighborhood has its public hammam, and many riads can arrange for their guests to use the neighborhood bathhouse rather than the hotel version. The neighborhood hammam runs on a local schedule, costs a fraction of the hotel equivalent, and provides an encounter with how the city's residents actually use public space. The ritual sequence, steam, black soap, exfoliation, rinse, is the same as the tourist version. The context is completely different, and the context is the point. Day 3 is for Marrakesh outside the Medina walls and for the transition preparation. The Mellah, the former Jewish quarter of Marrakesh, sits adjacent to the Medina and is the neighborhood most visitors walk past on the way to the Bahia Palace without recognizing what it is. The Mellah was established in the 16th century and was for centuries one of the most significant Jewish communities in North Africa, contributing to the trade networks that connected Marrakesh to sub-Saharan Africa and to the Mediterranean. The synagogues are still there, several of them in varying states of preservation, and the architectural character of the quarter. The balconied houses that allowed women to observe street life without being observed, the Hebrew lettering still visible on some doorposts, is distinctly different from the surrounding Medina in ways that repay attention. The Jewish community has largely emigrated primarily to Israel and France, but the physical record of their centuries of presence is still readable for anyone who knows to look for it. The afternoon of Day 3 is for practical preparation. The private driver for the Atlas crossing should be confirmed, any provisions for the mountain days should be assembled, and the evening should be spent in the kind of long dinner that Marrakesh does well when you find the right restaurant. Somewhere in the lanes of the Medina that doesn't have a printed menu outside and doesn't need one. Day 4 is the drive to Fez via the High Atlas, and it's the day that reframes the entire week. The route north from Marrakesh crosses the High Atlas through the Tizi and Tichka Pass at 2,260 meters, and the drive is 3 hours of landscape that shifts so dramatically from what exists on either side of the mountains that it's difficult to process as a single country. The southern Marrakesh plain gives way to foothills, then to the red-walled Berber villages clinging to the hillside, then to the high pass where the air is thin and cold and the views extend across ranges in both directions, then to the descent into the kasbah region, where the villages are made of pisé earth, the color of the landscape they grow from, and the river valleys are irrigated in a green so concentrated it reads almost artificial against the surrounding rock. The stop at Ait Benhaddou, the UNESCO-listed Ksar an hour south of the pass on the Ouarzazate side, is worth the minor detour. The fortified village, a collective of earthen towers and granaries and residences that has been in continuous use since the 17th century, and that has appeared in more films and television series than any other Moroccan location, is best visited in the morning before the tour buses arrive from Marrakesh, but even in the afternoon it's extraordinary, particularly on foot across the river ford and up through the gates into the upper village, where the inhabited and uninhabited sections bleed into each other in a way that makes the line between living community and heritage site genuinely unclear. Continue north to Middle for the night, or push further to Ifrane if the schedule allows. Ifrane is the anomaly of the Middle Atlas, a town built by the French colonial administration in the style of an alpine village, with red-roofed chalets and cedar forests and a climate cold enough for skiing in winter, sitting in a landscape that looks nothing like anything Morocco is supposed to look like and everything like an unexpected corner of Switzerland. The cedar forest around Ifrane is home to a population of Barbary macaques, the only wild primates in Africa north of the Sahara, who come to the roadside in the early morning. Day 5 arrives in Fez, and Fez requires everything you learned in Marrakesh about slowing down, deployed immediately. Check into a riad inside the Medina walls, Fez El Bali, the old city, rather than in the Ville Nouvelle, because the experience of waking up inside the world's largest medieval city, of hearing the calls to prayer from multiple directions at dawn, of eating breakfast on a courtyard terrace while the lanes below are coming to life, is specific to being inside it rather than adjacent to it. Fez is a city you need to be in, not near. The first morning in Fez should be spent without a plan, at least initially. Walk out of the riad into the lane and follow it. The Medina of Fez is not navigable in the way Marrakesh's is. It's more ancient, more dense, more genuinely labyrinthine, with over 9,000 lanes, of which many lead to dead ends, and some lead to other dead ends that lead somewhere else entirely. Getting lost in Fez is the correct activity. The lanes open unexpectedly into small squares with fountains, into mosques whose interiors you can see from the door without entering, into covered souks where natural light falls through wooden lattice in patterns that change as the sun moves. The navigation apps mostly don't help. The locals mostly do, if asked with the correct greeting and some tolerance for being redirected 3 times before the correct direction emerges. The Al-Qarawiyyin Mosque and University, the oldest continuously operating university in the world, founded in 859 AD, is not open to non-Muslims, but the doors open onto the interior often enough that the courtyard and the ablution fountains and the scale of the building are visible to anyone who pauses at the right moment. The Zawiya of Moulay Idris II, the shrine of the city's founder, is similarly partly accessible, with the cedar and tile interior visible from the antechamber. In both cases, the point is less to see the interior than to understand the role these buildings play in the daily life of a city organized around Islamic learning. The students still study at Qarawiyyin. The pilgrims still come to Moulay Idris. The call to prayer is still the structure around which the day is built. The afternoon of day 5 is for the tanneries, which are the most genuinely extraordinary working industrial site in Morocco, and which should be visited from the leather shop terraces that overlook the vats rather than from the crowded public viewing area. The shops surrounding the tannery offer free terrace access to visitors who come ostensibly to look at leather. You don't have to buy anything, though the quality of the goods is real, and from the terrace the scale and the color and the smell and the sheer antiquity of the operation, unchanged in its basics since the 11th century, hit together in a way that no photograph adequately prepares you for. Day 6 is for Fez beyond the Medina, specifically for the Marinid tombs on the hilltop above the city and for the Inania madrasa inside it. The tombs are the ruins of a 14th century royal necropolis, roofless now and carpeted in grass, and they're visited primarily for the view. The Medina of Fez below in the late afternoon light, the minarets and the dome of the Qarawiyyin visible in the tangle of the city, the Atlas in the distance on clear days. The view explains what Fez is in a way that being inside it doesn't. A city of remarkable density and remarkable antiquity, preserved in amber by the fact that the French built their administrative ville nouvelle outside the old walls rather than through them, leaving Fez El Bali as a complete medieval city, rather than a fragment of one. The Inania madrasa, built in the 14th century as a student residence for scholars studying at Qarawiyyin, is the finest example of Marinid architecture in Morocco and one of the finest examples of Islamic architecture anywhere. 3 stories of carved stucco and cedar and tile built around a central courtyard with a fountain. The proportions and the detail of a quality that makes a visit feel like standing inside a piece of scholarship rather than a building. The inscription around the courtyard is a dedication from the Sultan. The carving of the panels took decades to complete. The acoustic design channels the call to prayer from the minaret directly into the student cells above. Give it an hour. It rewards the hour. Day 7 is the final Fez morning and the departure. The last morning in Fez should be spent in the Andalusian Quarter, the eastern half of Fez El Bali, separated from the main Medina by the Oud Fez River, where the descendants of Muslims expelled from Andalusia settled in the 9th century and established their own mosques and craft traditions and neighborhood character. The Andalusian Quarter is quieter and less tourist than the main Medina and retains a residential texture that the most visited areas have partly lost. The lanes here are narrow enough to touch both walls simultaneously in places, and the houses behind the walls are invisible until a door opens and reveals a courtyard that the exterior gives no hint of. This is the architectural principle of the Moroccan Medina: everything hidden, everything inside, at its most intimate scale. Fly home from Fez Airport, which is small and manageable, and 20 minutes from the Medina, which is the correct ending for a week that was about going deep into one part of Morocco rather than fast across all of it. 7 days in the North Imperial route gives you Marrakesh, with enough time to move past the landmark layer into the neighborhood layer, the Atlas crossing as the physical experience of a country that contains multiple worlds within its borders, and Fez as the most complete medieval Islamic city remaining on Earth, experienced slowly enough to stop being impressive and start being real. The desert will still be there. Essaouira will still be there. The whole country is waiting for the next trip, which is how Morocco always works best. 1 week going deep in one direction, and the knowledge that the country is large enough and various enough that the next visit starts somewhere completely different. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, smash that like button and subscribe to When to Travel. We're all about helping you make smarter travel decisions. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And hey, if you think your friends need this, share it. Comment below with your next destination or your biggest travel question. I'm reading all of them. Let's go.